Good evening, everybody. Sorry, I'm 1 minute late. I lost my notes to tonight's class, and it has been a very busy day for me again. So I've been running around, doing some things, and sorry, and I'm 1 minute late, as I said. Tonight, as you can see, I still haven't cut my hair. Ooh, look at that. It has been 7 months since I cut my hair, but you don't need to know that. Maybe 8 months. Yeah, it's 8 months now. So long time. What's today, Pedro? Today is Sunday, July 19th. And what time is it, Pedro? It is 9:02 or 2 minutes after 9. We don't say 9:02. Just say 2 minutes after 9 or 9:02. Sorry for that as well. So if you have any questions or comments, you can send those to my WhatsApp. Remember, I can't see any of the screen or the screen rather when I'm on PowerPoint. So if you have any questions or comments, let me know on WhatsApp. This week or next week, we're going to return to Romans. But tonight we're going to finish up the same thing, the first chapter of Jonah, almost. So you'll see here in just a moment. So again, this week Jonah. Next week we'll go back to Romans for I think 1 week, and then if you have any questions or comments as well on the direction, let me know. So. Alrighty, it is 9:03. I'm going to go to share screen. It'll take me a few seconds. And this part is crazy. So unfortunately, we need to take care of this. Okay, what's going on here? Let me do this here. Alrighty, go to share screen. Boy, I'm having problems here. Portugal. There we go. And Quiltar. I think I did something differently today. Probably did something horribly wrong, but let me know if there are any questions, please. I'm on WhatsApp. And alrighty, let's go to our first slide here. As you know, every week we start with let's get started. As you know, this is Vamos Começar. Let's get started. Então, stuff. You know, this is coisas. We start every week with this. Bold will be new text. Anything that is new to my 2 classes on Tuesday and Thursday, it will be in bold. For some people, everything will be new. For some people, all this will be old. So, italics, prepositions. Asterisk will be the adverbs with ly. And one more or 2 more rather. We have brackets with the participle. This will be past, present, and future, and will not include the perfect tense. And 1 more, or 2 more actually. The red letters will be any words with any, some, no, and every. And then the underline. These would be the key words that I will focus on. And every week there'll be some keywords. There's some words also in blue that we looked at a few weeks ago, and just to highlight those, well, you'll see them as they come. All righty. And guess what, guys? We're going directly into our presentation tonight. And what is it called? It's called Who Wants to Go to Nineveh? The long way, remember the way is camino, and that's one of the key words we're going to look at tonight, or the short way. It all depends on you. So last week we looked at Jonah, the first 7 verses, chapter 1 through 7. God called Jonah to go to Nineveh. And what did Jonah do? He decided to run somewhere else. Now remember, else is otro or mais. Neste caso, otro. Algum lugar otro. So somewhere else. Anywhere but Nineveh. All right. He chose Tarshish. Ele escolheu. Remember this from, I believe, 2 weeks ago. And on the way, a big storm, tempestade, came up. Now remember, come up is a phrasal verb from last week, and it's surgir. Big storm came up, and the sailors threw everything off the boat. And here we're going to focus on focar, threw off. Now the verb is throw, the preposition is off, but we divided the preposition with everything. And we'll focus on that a little tonight. Focar, vamos focar. Meanwhile, Jonas went to sleep during the storm. Now remember, meanwhile is enquanto isso. Jonah went to sleep during the storm. Então, where's Nineveh? Well, Nineveh today is Mosul, Iraq, or Iraqi. And Jonah went to Joppa on the way to Tarshish. Remember, Tarshish is the opposite way, not the way to Nineveh. Now, Joppa is now Tel Aviv, Israel. And here I put a map in from Google Maps from Jerusalem to Nineveh. It is, if you're driving, it's 15 hours only and 53 minutes. The Middle East is very small, by the way. It's one day we can drive from Jerusalem to Mosul. Probably 12 hours to Baghdad. Amazing. It's very close. Everything is very close. So there are tolls involved, and you see that I don't like tolls. Now, how far was Nineveh from Joppa? Well, you see that there was 1,332 kilometers. And by car, it takes 15 hours, 53 minutes. Now, how long would it take there to get there? Remember, get there, here's Shegar, La, to get there. If Jonah went 20 kilometers per day. So this is a conditional. How long would it take? All my students know the question, how long does it take? So in this case, this is a conditional. How long would it take to get there if Jonah went 20 kilometers per day? It would take 67 days if going 20 kilometers per day. And what did the captain do on the boat? Well, he woke Jonah up. There it is again. He woke Jonah up. Woke up, wake is the verb, and up is the preposition. So we divide wake up with Jonah. Wake Jonah up. He woke Jonah up. And it's a little difficult to process, but it's something we need to do. And he told him, get up and pray. Get up and pray. Now, get up is kumkana, and then pray. And then here is the captain telling the profeta, to pray. So something is very wrong with this situation. The boat captain, it was probably intel, but we won't. That'll be for another day. Now the sailors couldn't do anything else. They already threw everything off the boat because of the storm. Tempestade, and they prayed to anything and everything. Now today, we have a good laugh, dar risos at this. They prayed to anything and everything. We do the same thing today. We pray to the first God that gives us comfort and happiness. And soon that does not satisfazer. And we go to the next God and the next God until we find the only true God. So it's part of human nature. and natureza humana, I think, in Portuguese. So maybe one of these gods work. We'll pray to every god. How many gods are there? I don't know in this situation. And then finally they said to each other, hey, let's cast lots. Now remember, each other is un para otro in this case. Let's cast lots. Vamos tirar sortes. So let's cast lots. Now, cast of characters. Last week I said cast. You'll never see the word cast again as a verb. So here's cast of characters. And this is elenco de personagens. Elenco de personagens. And so far. Now, so far here is assim longe. Oh, confuso? Yes. So far here, it really means até agora. The cast of characters, até agora. Remember, so we have 6 or 7 different definitions for so in Portuguese. Now, the cast of characters so far, we know God. And then Jonah. Remember, Jonah is the only name in this book. Only one name, his name. Then we have the captain of the ship, who remains nameless, and the sailors also. Nobody has a name here. And then later, as you know, everybody knows from 5 years old, the story when they were children, we have the big fish, but that comes later. Now, what are the key words tonight? Get up and go down, and huge. Now, you know, get up and go. Levanta y vai embora. Go down is descer, and then huge is immenso. And Jonah uses these 3 multiple times, at least 3 times in this book of 4 chapters. Then so, this will be the underlined word, so, way, and to. Remember, way can be various things, many things also. Jeito, caminho, maneira, de modo, many others that I can't remember de repente. Sentido, there's 7 or 8 words here, and they're all popular in Portuguese. So tu here is not também, but tu here is demais. We will look at this in a few minutes. And then conseguir. This is a little bit strange in Portuguese because conseguir can be one of 2 things. Can be get, and also can be poder in tempo passado. We will see 2 examples of this in Portuguese. Então, now when entering the police academy, now these are going to be the new recruits, and Leandro, forgive me, but I didn't translate this, and I didn't have time to translate. When entering the police academy, these are the new principiantes in the police. These are the prospectivas, policiais prospectivas. And when they want to be a policeman, and the recruits are asked to draw a person. Now here, draw is desenhar. Desenhar. Desenhar, just a person. That's all. Now in Portuguese, that's all. That is all. Só isso. That's all. Just draw a person. What happens? Well, people who are naturally violent, you know this, violento naturalmente, naturally violent, will draw a person in a violent act. Ato violento. They will draw a person in a violent act. That's just our nature, and we show in our world, in nosso mundo, how we are. So here's for example, this is what my mother-in-law drew, desenhou, and she has problems with violence. Anyhow, now what do depressed people write about? What do depressed people write about? Well, they give us hints. Now, hint here is dica, and dica has 2 meanings, significados in English. So hint can be, give me a hint. I don't know. This is a mystery, and I need to know. Give me a hint. Okay, Pedro, I will help you. And also, Jikas can also be tips, but we will look at this later. Tips. These are conselhinhos for vida or anything, for life. So Pedro, when you go to Avenida Paulista, wear a suit. Use a suit. Usa terno. Un terno. Conservativo. I don't know. So this is a tip, but this is a hint. Hint is something that we don't know, but this will show us something. Mostrar alguma coisa. So they write about depressing things. Depressed people write about depressing things. Notice that the people, the subject, are in here is depressed, and the things are depressing that act. Here's another example. This is confusing, Pedro. Yes, it is confusing. Confuso. Estou confuso. No, pior. In Portuguese. So this is confusing. I am confused. So we use the gerund, gerundio, here for adjetivo. Confusing, depressing. And then we are confused or depressed, whatever the case may be. Now, for the writer of Jonah, the writer wrote, escritor escreveu about going down. Jonah went down to Joppa. Jonah went down into the boat. And then Jonah went down to the bottom of the boat. And if you remember from, I believe, 2 months ago, bottom would be base, no final, lugar mais baixo in the boat. So he went down 3 times. So who wrote Jonah? Well, probably Jonah because of that. And Jonah was not finished going down. He will go down more. So he is not finished. Now, foi terminado, in this case, doesn't work in Portuguese. He was not finished going down. Então, now Jonah gives us more hints. We talked about huge. Everything was huge. Nineveh was huge. The wind was huge, in this case, bad. The storm was huge. The tempestade, muito grandão, imenso. The storm is huge. We'll return to this later, but first, well, as you know, vocabulary. All right, let's go to vocabulary. We don't have many new words. I'm going to review some of the words that we have looked at in the past. So vocabulary. Now, draw is desenhar. Draw, drew, drawn. So that's irregular. Terrify. Aterrorizar. Forgive me. Now, there's another one, apavorar. And as you can see, I don't use those words in vida real. So terrify, aterrorizar. But here in this context, we want to see apavorar. And then row. Row is hemar. Row, hemar. And pick up. There's a phrasal verb. Sorry, I didn't have a separate page for this phrasal verb. Pick up is going to be levantar. Now, levantar is a big word. It can mean many things. But usually this is something, pegar, think about pegar de chão. So I dropped a book and I need to pick it up. Pick up. So pick up the book. So we have another verb for levantar a cama. Here in this case would be raise the bed or lift the bed. But in this case, if it's a small thing, it's pick up. Anyhow, let. Deixar, you guys know this, deixar. I think we've looked at this 3 times, but it is an important verb in English. And then work. Now I sent you if you're one of my students, I sent you in the vocabulary, I put funcionar. And that's what it is. We have function, but usually we say work. My car works. The electricity works. The metro is working. Está funcionando. Can be, but that's for another case. The metro está operando usually, but there was an accident on the metro, and then now it works. The train works. So funcionar, think funcionar is going to be work. Então, endure, endure. Now you see there's something close to that in Portuguese. Durar, durar. But in English, there's two contexts. One is durar, and tonight we're going to look at durar actually. But usually we say the word last. Last is very informal. And you know, last is último. Oh, último is now a verb. Ultimar. So endure, last, or in Portuguese, durar. But also we use the verb endure for aguentar, tolerar. I had to endure my mother-in-law this afternoon for 3 hours. No, I'm joking. She's a good person. So eu aguentei minha sogra for 3 hours. All right. Deserve is merecer. We have looked at this verb before. Deserve, merecer. And then choose. We looked at that earlier. Choose, escolher. Choose, chose, chosen. So in this list today, we have 3 verbs that are irregular. Então, see. See is mar. Everybody knows that. Fruta de mar, the sea, seafood. And land is terra. Terra can be, I think, can be terreno for propriedade. I have terreno in Atibaia. I want to sell. I don't know if you use terra or terreno. I think it is terreno also. So land can also be terra. In this case, we're going to look at terra. Wave is onda. So this is extremely popular on literal, no literal, wave, onda, and also in our kitchen we have the microwave, microonda, microonda. So microwave, wave, onda. Então, guilty. Now last week we looked at blame. Blame is culpar. And then I am guilty is culpado. Estou culpado de crime, I think you would say in Portuguese. I'm guilty. I did it. Okay, I did it. I'm guilty. We blame you, Pedro, and you are guilty, said então. Instead, ao invés, de, instead of, instead. We've looked at that, I think, twice already. During, I think we looked at this one also. During, durante. Interesting, interessante. Fascinating, fascinante. During, durante. Then wisdom. Wisdom is sabedoria. Sabedoria. Wisdom. Então, alone. This is a common word. By the way, all these words, necessitadas, are going to be popular words. We really need these words. So we need to focus on these words. Alone, sozinho. I am alone. Estou sozinho. Então, clan. Clan is a word you'll probably never see, except Ku Klux Klan in the United States. That's a big family. It's an extended family. It's a very extended family. Então, so clan is family. And then hint. We looked at hint. Hint again is dica. Conselhinho, maybe in Portuguese. Então, let's go directly to our text tonight. So they asked him, tell us, who is responsible for making this trouble for us? What do you do for a living? Where do you come from? What is your country? Who are your people? He answered, I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. This terrified them, and they asked, what have you done? They knew he was running away from the Lord, because he had already told them so. The wind and the waves of the sea were becoming stronger and stronger. So the men said to Jonah, what should we do to save ourselves? What should we do to you to make the sea calm? Pick me up and throw me into the sea, so it may quiet down for you. For I know that I'm to blame for this violent storm that is against you. Instead, the men tried to row the ship back to shore, but they couldn't do it. The wind and the waves of the sea were too strong, and they were becoming stronger and stronger. So the men cried to the Lord, Lord, please don't let us die because of taking this man's life. Please don't think we are guilty of killing an innocent man. Lord, you have caused all this to happen. You wanted it this way. Then the men picked up Jonah and threw him into the sea. So the sea became calm. And this made the sailors so afraid of the Lord that they offered a sacrifice and promised to serve him. Anyhow, let's go to verse 8. So they asked him, tell us, who is responsible for making all this trouble for us? What do you do for a living? Where do you come from? What is your country? Who are your people? Então, so here in Portuguese, they use the word calamity, calamidade. We have the same word in English, but it's extremely formal. You won't see this or hear this in conversation, maybe only in poetry, I don't know. But calamity is more specific, and trouble, as you know, is problemas. All these problems for us. So trouble is a interesting word in English. So it's more in general. And they use aqui povo você pertence. Here's belong, pertencer, belong. Então, now these questions came at the same time, ao mesmo tempo, at the same time. Remember, there was a big storm. There was a big storm. They don't have time. Please, Jonah, can you answer these questions individualmente? How much time do you have, Jonah? So these are all, I'm sure they ask these questions quickly. What do you do what do you come from? So Jonah, well, this is what Jonah said. He answered, I am a Hebrew, Hebreu, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. Mar y, the dry land, teha seca. Now here it just says mar y teha. In English, I believe in Hebrew it says the dry land, but which is true, but dry land, it's redundant. So hebreo, adorador. So here's I am a worshiper of the Lord. So a little different in Portuguese. And I don't know, it says the God of heaven, I need to check this. And in Portuguese it says o Deus dos céus. It's plural. And in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It's plural. Então. So verse 9 again. Now the English and Portuguese, remember, adorador is worshiper. They both say worship. Os dois. Remember both, as dois ou ambos. So in English and Portuguese, both say worship. And in Hebrew, it says fear. Fear, medo. Hebrew says fear. Little different. Now, fear is part of the Old Testament faith kit. And maybe in the New Testament also. Remember, kit de fé. And we will look at this faith kit. I'm still diseñando this class about the faith kit. So I need a little more time on this class about the faith kit. But we have many things. We have faith, and all these things come with faith. And we'll talk about justiça and some of the other things in Portuguese. But again, a later date. Now in Psalm 112:1, remember this, almost like it is like the Beatitudes. Blessed are those who fear the Lord. Wait a second. Blessed are those who fear. Oh, nossa. And the New Testament says, fear not. Fear not. Jesus said, do not fear. Do not fear. So we will look at some of these differences in the future. Blessed are those who fear the Lord. But this is not the same fear This is part of this faith kit. And also, here it says, let those who fear the Lord say his love endures forever. Here it is in dura, para sempre. Remember, forever, for na frente, forever, compound word, para sempre. His love endures forever. Let those who fear the Lord. And then Proverbs 9:10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. Is the beginning, inicio de toda sabedoria. I didn't translate these in Portuguese. I'm sorry, but fear is an important concepto in the Old Testament. It really is in the New Testament. It's just a different word in Greek. But we have to remember that we need to think of the Old Testament more as God is working with children. And if there are any Hebrews, Judeos, we will look at this in the spiritual children. And we're looking at with adults in the New Testament. There's important concept. We will look at that in the future. I'm still designing this class also. Anyhow, verse 10, this terrified them, and they asked, what have you done? They knew he was running away from the Lord because he had already told them so. There's that word so. In Portuguese, here they use not aterrorizado, but apavorado. Apavorados, plural. So it's the other terrified. And then o que foi que você fez? In Portuguese, you would translate that in past tense. In the Hebrew, it is in the perfect tense. What have you done? So it's more correct here, believe it or not, in the Portuguese. Então, now Jonah used great again. This terrified them here. So this terrified them hugely. Now, hugely does not exist. So please do not use hugely anywhere. So this terrified them a lot, very much. Huge terror, grande terror. So, but it's the verb. This terrified them hugely. It's an adverbio. And then we have so, because he already told them so. So remember, we have 6 options. Então, sim, assim também para que e tanto. I forgot 7. There's 7 here. So what do we have here? Because he already told them so. Então, what is the answer? The answer is assim. Because he already told them he was running away from the Lord. Repeating. Already told them so. So we don't need to say he already told them this or that. It's so. Assim. A little different. So until I didn't invent the language again. Verse 11, the wind and the waves of the sea were becoming stronger and stronger. So the men said to Jonah, what should we do to save ourselves? Nós mesmo. What should we do to make the sea calm? To make the sea, fazer the sea calm. So in this key, they use a little different, so that the sea becomes calm, sea calming, or the sea calms down. So a little different grammar here in the Portuguese. And they use devemos. What must we do? What must we do? Devemos. Now deveríamos. What must we do? And down. So the wind and the waves, remember, waves on this were becoming stronger and stronger. So the men said to Jonah, and down. There it is again. Oop. So the men, this, so it's going to be in town. The men said to Jonah, that's easy. Verse number 12, pick me up and throw me into the sea, so it may quiet down for you. For I know that I'm to blame for this violent storm that is against you. Contra você. Now in here, caiu sobre vocês. Here it says, fell on you. Caiu sobre vocês. That is against you. This is contra você. So pick me up and throw me into the sea. Now, huge storm, and here they translate it to violent storm. but it's actually in the Portuguese, it's a huge storm, imenso. It's a huge storm. And here's something. Oh, guys, can you do this for me? Can you give me 1 million reais? Who wants to give me a million reais? Help Pedro out. You want to help me out? You can give me 1 million reais. Now we notice here that the me divides the give and the 1 million reais. Now we have two options here. Give me 1 million reais or give a million reais to me. What do you prefer? Okay, you prefer give me a million reais. Okay, yeah, I will give you my checking information, my check account, my account number at Itaú Bank. So give me a million reais. So a verb, there's no subject here. It's imperativo. Give me a million reais. Então, now pick me up, imperativo again. And here, pick up, remember, is levantar, pegar de chão, pick me up. So me divides the pick and the up. So pick me up and throw me into the sea. Throw is the verb and into is the preposition. Throw me into the sea. And here we don't have a choice. It's always going to be throw me into the sea. Not me throw, not throw into me into. So we only have one option. Throw me into the sea. Pick me up. Throw me into the sea. By the way, there's another option. It's I try to use this in class. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. Turn the TV on. Can you turn the TV on? Yes, I can turn it on. Turn on, turn it on. So now the object comes between the phrasal verb. Turn on. Então, verse 13, instead, ao invés, the men tried to row the ship back to the shore, but they couldn't do it. The wind and the waves of the sea were too strong, and they were becoming stronger and stronger. Here's in Portuguese, conseguiram. Mas não conseguiram. They couldn't do it. Now, conseguir, remember we have get or conseguir, or get or poder. And now, pude abrir porta. I couldn't open the door. In the past tense, conseguir is usually poder. I couldn't. They couldn't. So they couldn't do it in English. And here, ao invés disso in Portuguese, ao invés in English, just instead. The men tried to row. There's that verb remar. Então, the wind and the waves of the sea, as ondas, were too strong. O vento is ondas, were too strong. Too strong. Remember, too is here in this case is not também, it is demais. So what was the negative consequence? Remember, with too, there's a negative consequence. The men tried to row the ship back to shore, but they couldn't do it. They wanted to bring Jonah to land, terra, but they couldn't do it. Então, now there are 3 twos in the English language. It's strange, but I guess this phrase does not exist in English. There are 3 twos. I have 2 reais. I'm going to the mall. And I like bananas too. Here's também, but that too can also be demais. So também ou demais. There's a negative consequence involved with too. So here, M&Ms are too expensive. So caro demais because I only have 2 reais. My wife gives me 2 reais and I can't buy M&Ms, M&Ms. I have 2 reais. So the negative consequence, I can't eat them. And my wife has too many shoes. So we need a bigger house. Now we need to move. My wife has too many demais. So we need a bigger house. I don't have space, espaço. So there's my negative consequence. And my car will not start. Now start, here in Portuguese say ligar. And it is too far to walk home. Andar para casa. I will call Uber. So now I have lost time and money. I have lost. Tenho perdido time and money, and I need to call Uber. It is not fun. All right. So verse 14 again. So the men cried to the Lord, Lord, please don't let us die. Whoops, this is new verse. So the men cried out to the Lord, Lord, please don't let us die because of taking this man's life. Please don't think we are guilty, culpado, of killing an innocent man. Lord, you have caused. Here's Portuguese, and in English it is the perfect tense. You have caused all this to happen. You wanted it this way. Jeito, I would assume, in this case, jeito. And in Portuguese, it's almost the same thing. Eles clamaram. Remember, cry can be chorar or clamar. Eles clamaram ao Senhor. So don't let them die. Because of life of because of taking this man's life. Tirarmos, good luck. Remember, that is a present tense in the future that does not exist in English. Remember, you have 60 conjugations in Portuguese and only 5 verb forms in English. Confusing. Yes, you have to forget 55 conjugations in English. Então, so now caia sobre nós a culpa de matar inocente. Now here's guilty of killing an innocent man. Guilty, culpado, nós a culpa. Então, because you, Lord, have caused all this to happen. Not caused, but caused. I have caused. So tempo perfeito in the Hebrew. Então, they did everything to save Jonah. This is the prophet. They're trying to save him. He wants to die. The captain told him, you have to pray. But Jonah was sleeping. So the captain, probably not the greatest example, but we will look at this later. This was a supernatural storm, tempestade supernatural in Portuguese. This was something they haven't seen, because I'm sure if they have experiencia, then they have seen storms, tempestades. But this one was supernatural. Então, so then the men picked up Jonah and threw him into the sea. So the sea became calm. Então, the sea became calm. Então, so that in Portuguese, lançaram. Não jogaram, but lançaram ao mar enfurecido. So here's a description. Descripção, enfurecido. You don't have that. Just throw them into the sea in English. Yeah, so the sea became calm. So picked up Jonah. Now here it is picked up Jonah, not picked Jonah up. Then the men picked Jonah up, can be. Picked Jonah up and threw him into the sea. But here we have the option. Picked up Jonah and threw him into the sea. Now Jonah went down one more time. Here, this time, in the water. They threw him in the water, or into the water, because it's the verb. They threw him into the sea, it says in the English. So he went down one more time, 4 times. And it gets worse. Ficar pure for Jonah, as you know. All right, verse 16, this made the sailors so afraid of the Lord that they offered a sacrifice and promised to serve him. They promised to serve him. Então, so this made the sailors so afraid of the Lord that they offered a sacrifice. Now we have 6, actually 7 with tanto, and I believe tanto is the correct answer here. This made the sailors so afraid of the Lord that they offered a sacrifice. So here is that explicaçãozinha when we use so as tão ou tanto. So afraid of the Lord that they offered. So here it is. They offered a sacrifice and promised to serve him. Então, where did they offer a sacrifice? Well, on shore. On shore. So apparently the storm quieted and they went to shore and they offered a sacrifice. Remember, they already threw the cargo off. So throw, verb, preposition off, and the thing, in this case, cargo. Remember from last week, cargo, it's carga, off the boat, off the ship, rather. Anyhow, now let's review some of the questions that we looked at. And here's where I'd like some participation at home. Just repeat these questions at home. And remember, asking questions is difficult because in English we have the two interrogativos, interrogatives. So almost all questions have two interrogatives. Some questions do not. So where are you from? Where are you from? Repete, por favor. Where are you from? You know this question. You ask this. Everybody learns this. Where are you from? De onde você é? What do you do for a living? Repete, por favor. What do you do for a living? In Portuguese, remember, o que você faz? What do you do? Can be the same thing in English. What do you do? Or what do you do for a living? So we need, what do you do? Maybe they need more information. I don't know. But I would use what do you do for a living? Então, where did they offer sacrifice? Where did they offer sacrifice? Where did they offer sacrifice? Well, they offered on shore. Where did? Repete, por favor. Where did they offer a sacrifice? Remember, did most of the tempo passado. What have you done? This is tempo perfeito. What have you done? And that will be the third column with tempo perfeito. What have you done? Sujeito you. And now, how long would it take to get there? Repete, por favor. How long would it take to get there? How long would it take? So here's the conditional. How long would it take? And then what should we do to save ourselves? Remember, after would and should comes the sujeito verbo. What should we do to save ourselves? You should throw me into the water. Então, and then I have one more question tonight. One more question. And actually, it's our biggest criticism of other people. Now, the criticism, I'm sorry, I didn't put it on the list. I put it on the presentation tonight or today. Criticism is crítica. What is our biggest, maior crítica of other people? What is it? It's a question. Why can't you be more like me? Why can't you be more like me? Mais como eu. Como eu. Why can't you be like me or more like me? It's an interesting question. Why can't you be more like me? And our biggest problem with Jonah, what is it? God uses only perfect people, right? He doesn't use people who are definitivo. Definitivo, I believe, is the adjective. He only uses perfect people. Então, like us. Então, well, I have bad news, everybody. Más noticias. I have bad news. What is that bad news? Well, God uses imperfect people. Like us. And like Jonah. Absolutely. He uses imperfect people. And are we alone? Sozinho, nos somos sozinhos, I believe would be. Well, let's look in the Bible. What does the Bible say about Gideon? Well, in the book of Judges, God sent him to save Israel. And what did Gideon say? How can I save Israel? Como eu posso salvar my clan, my family? And remember, in these times that they just in all of the area, Oriente Médio, is usually big families. So my clan, my family, is the weakest. in Manasseh. And I am, remember, weakest, mais fraco. And I am the least in my family. Oh, ele está no baixo do barco. Like Jonah, I am the worst, the last. Oh, find another person. I don't know. Now here's Jeremiah. Jeremiah, well, he's a prophet. He's a major prophet. Remember, my profeta. What about Jeremiah? The Lord said, Jeremiah, I am your creator. And before you were born, I chose you, escogí. I chose you, escogí, to speak for me to the nations. And he said, I am not a good speaker, Lord, and I'm too young. Mais desculpas. I'm too young. Here is too young. Well, what is the negative consequence? Consequência negativa. People will pay no attention to me or what I say. That is not true. He didn't want to go. He didn't want the responsibility. Então, he didn't want the responsibility. What about Moses? Of course, Moses. Surely Moses. This is the guy, he wrote the first 5 books. He's perfect. He's a good man, right? Well, I am the Lord. Tell the king of Egypt everything I tell you. But Moses answered, I am not a good speaker. The king will not listen to me. So he's making excuses, disculpas. Oh, and Isaiah, another major prophet. What did he say? I am a man of unclean lips, labios impuros, and I live among a people of unclean lips. Now, we need to remember, among is entre, between is entre. What is the difference? Between is two things. Two people, two things, or person and thing, any combination of two. And con entre is between. Con tres o mais, among. I live among. Obviously, it is among because Israel had more than 2 people. Or Judah in this case, I live among a people of unclean lips. Então, there it is in Portuguese. Sou homem de lábios impuros e vivo no meio de povo de lábios impuros. I'm not the right person. Now, at the time, nessa época, I think that, by the way, I think that Isaiah thought that, he was going to die. I recommend to read that portion. I think he was going to die. He thought he was going to die. And he was confessando everything. I think, but that's my opinion. And like Jonah is going to do in chapter 2. So we will look at that soon, not next week, but probably in 2 weeks. Now, what about Jonah? We looked at the other prophets, the major prophets, and Moses and Gideon, who was not a prophet, he was a judge. So what about Jonah? Chapter 1, Jonah got what he deserved, didn't he? He got what he deserved. He ran, and they threw him in the water. He ran and he got caught. Foi pego. Here's foi pego. He ran and he got caught. He got what he deserved. I don't agree. And we will look at this in the next week or 2. There was a reason God let this happen. Anyhow, and he faced the consequences. Jonah faced the consequences. Anyhow, now Jonah is not our typical hero. These 2 words, heroi and typical, we looked at, I believe, last month. Típico. Heroi típico. Jonah is not our typical hero. He froze. Oh, I forgot to put this verb in the list of verbs. Froze, trancou. I believe also it's congelar. So in the freezer, things freeze. Freeze, froze, frozen. Maybe I'll remember this next week. So he froze, but freeze can also be trancar, travar also. when he needed action. But there was a reason why. And again, we will look at this probably in chapter 4. He froze when he needed action. Was this a surprise to God? Was this? No. God knew what was happening. God chose Jonah in this case for a reason. So we will look at those options in the future. But we will return to this question in later chapters. Now, what about most people? Now, last week we looked at most. You remember, most can be mais. I have the most books in Brazil. Mais livros no Brasil. I have the most. But here it is maioria. What about most people? Well, they are good people, right? They live their lives. They get their stuff. Coisas na vida. And they have good memories. They have good memories. But nothing around them changes. And maybe this is a situation with Jonah at the time. That he was the only prophet to go. Maybe the other prophets were called and they never left because they wanted their things. They were most people. They didn't want the challenge. They didn't want to do this. So, but we will look at this again, maybe chapter 4. But I don't want to be most people. I'm sure you agree. You don't want to be most people also. I'm sorry, you don't want to be most people either. Forgive me. I don't want to be most people, and you don't want to be most people either. What about you? You want to be like most people? Or do you want to make a difference? Now here's fazer uma diferença. Fazer, do you want to make a difference? Are you ready to go to Nineveh? Are you ready? Are you one of the few? The few. Menos. I don't know how to say that. One of the few. Most people, menor, maioria do povo, don't want to go. So we will be one of the few who will go to Nineveh. But that is our option. We're all Jonahs, right? In this life, we're all Jonahs, and we are no different than Jonah. And we need to enfrentar this verdade, this truth, essa verdade. We're all Jonahs na vida. But we can go the long way to Nineveh. We can go the short way. Here's the caminho curto ou caminho longo. Now, atalho, but caminho longo, caminho curto. It's our decision. But God is with you on the way, no caminho, or a caminho, on the way. God is with you on the way. Our problem is that we need to listen. We need to listen. And sometimes God gets our attention with the storms and the big fish in life. This will be for another day, but we will have to end here. Good night, everybody. We will look at Romans next week and then probably come back to Jonah chapter 2 and actually the last verse of Jonah. So you scholars, estudiosos, you notice that I did not mention the last verse in Jonah chapter 1. So next time we will look at probably Romans, and then the week after we will visit the end of chapter 1 and all of chapter 2, so of Jonah. Então, good night, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this, and next I will see you either in class or next Sunday. Good night. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to give me a message, send a message on WhatsApp. All right. Good night, everybody.